Something just shifted, and this time, it's not one-sided anymore. What used to feel like a quiet, controlled tension between Kendrick Lamar and Drake has suddenly turned into a full-blown divide, and fans are right in the middle of it. Because now, it's not just about who said what, it's about who people believe. At first, everything seemed familiar. Subtle lines, quiet moves, moments that fans had to decode and debate. But something about this latest turn feels different. The reactions aren't unified anymore. Instead of everyone leaning in one direction, the fan base has split. And once that happens, the energy changes completely. Some fans are standing firmly with Kendrick, saying his silence, his precision, and his timing prove that he's always one step ahead. They believe every move, or lack of one, is calculated, that is letting things build before delivering something bigger. To them, this isn't hesitation, it's control. But on the other side, Drake supporters are pushing back hard. They are pointing out his consistency, his visibility, and his ability to keep the conversation alive no matter what. They see his recent moves as confident, strategic, and intentional, proof that he's still running the game in real time. And then there's the middle group, the ones who aren't picking sides, but instead watching closely, trying to understand what's really happening. Because the truth is, this situation isn't as clear as people want it to be. There's no direct confirmation, no obvious winner, no final move. Just tension, and two completely different ways of controlling it. What makes this moment so intense is how fast it escalated. 1 minute, things felt quiet. The next, timelines are filled with debates, reactions, and strong opinions from both sides. It's no longer just a conversation, it's a clash of perspectives. And that's when things get unpredictable. Because when fans are divided like this, the next move doesn't just matter, it decides everything. The moment everything shifted didn't come with a warning. It came with reactions. Almost instantly after the latest development between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, the internet split into sides. Not gradually, not subtly, instantly. And that's when it became clear this wasn't just another phase of quiet tension. This was something different. Because usually, when moments like this happen, there's at least some level of agreement. Fans might debate details, but the general direction of the conversation stays unified. This time, that unity disappeared. Instead of one dominant narrative, there are now multiple competing ones, and each side is convinced they are right. On one side, Kendrick supporters are doubling down on what they've always believed, that he moves with purpose. To them, his silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Every second he doesn't respond adds weight to the idea that he's preparing something bigger. They point to his history, his pattern of stepping back and then returning with impact, and they see this moment as part of that same approach. In their eyes, Kendrick isn't losing control of the situation, he's building it. But on the other side, Drake fans are just as confident. They see his activity, his consistency, and his ability to keep himself at the center of the conversation as proof that he's winning in real time. While Kendrick stays silent, Drake is present, dropping lines, creating moments, giving people something to talk about. And in today's fast-moving environment, that presence matters. To them, control isn't about waiting, it's about acting. This is where the divide becomes more than just opinion. It becomes perspective. Two completely different ways of viewing the same situation. One side values patience and precision. The other values momentum and visibility. And because both arguments have weight, neither side is backing down. Social media has turned into a battleground of interpretations. Every post, every clip, every lyric is being used as evidence. Fans are quoting past lines, bringing up previous moments, and connecting dots in ways that support their side of the argument. It's not just discussion anymore, it's debate. And what makes it even more intense is how personal it's starting to feel for people. Fans aren't just analyzing, they're defending. They're standing behind their artist, pushing back against opposing views, and turning this moment into something that feels bigger than just music. It's identity, loyalty, perspective, all colliding in one space. Meanwhile, both artists remain relatively controlled in their actions. Drake continues to do what he does, stay visible, stay active, keep the conversation moving. Kendrick Lamar continues to do what he does. Stay quiet, stay selective, let the moment build around him. And that contrast is what's fueling everything. Because in a way, both approaches are working. Drake is dominating the present moment. Kendrick is dominating the anticipation of what might come next. And fans are caught in between, trying to decide which one matters more. This creates a kind of tension that doesn't resolve easily. It doesn't have a clear answer or an obvious outcome. Instead, it keeps evolving, growing more complex as more people join the conversation. Every new opinion adds another layer. Every new reaction shifts the balance slightly. At the same time, there's a growing sense that this moment might be leading somewhere bigger. That this isn't just a random spike in tension, but part of a larger build-up. Fans on both sides are starting to feel it, that sense that something is coming, even if no one knows exactly what it is yet. That feeling is what keeps everyone engaged, because it turns the moment into something ongoing, something that hasn't reached its peak yet. And when people feel like they are in the middle of something still unfolding, they stay locked in. Another interesting aspect is how neutral observers are reacting. The middle group, the ones not fully committed to either side, are watching everything play out with a different perspective. They are not defending or attacking, they are analyzing, trying to understand the bigger picture, the patterns, the strategies behind both artists' moves. And what they are seeing is a clash of styles more than anything else. Drake's approach is immediate and visible. Kendrick's is delayed and calculated. Both are effective, but in completely different ways. And when those two approaches collide, it creates moments like this, unpredictable, divisive, and impossible to ignore. As this continues to unfold, one thing becomes clear. This isn't just about a diss or a line or a single moment. It's about how people interpret control, how they define influence, how they decide who's winning when the situation doesn't have a clear scoreboard. And right now, there is no scoreboard, just opinions, just reactions, just a growing divide that's getting stronger by the minute. Because in moments like this, it's not just the artists shaping the narrative, it's the fans too. As the divide grows louder, the conversation starts to evolve into something even more complex. It's no longer just fans reacting. It's fans organizing their perspectives, building arguments, and reinforcing their positions with more intensity. What started as a split is now turning into two fully developed narratives around Kendrick Lamar and Drake, each with its own logic, its own evidence, and its own confidence. On Kendrick's side, the argument keeps getting stronger the longer he stays silent. At first, that silence was questioned. Now, it's being framed as deliberate. Fans are pointing out how he's always moved differently, never rushing, never reacting instantly, always choosing his moments carefully. To them, this situation fits perfectly into that pattern. The longer he waits, the more it feels like something calculated is building behind the scenes. They are revisiting his past moves, comparing timelines, highlighting how he's handled similar situations before. And with each example, the narrative becomes clearer in their eyes. Kendrick doesn't respond quickly because he doesn't need to. When he does respond, it's meant to land with maximum impact. That belief is what's keeping his side confident, even in silence. On the other side, Drake supporters are pushing a completely different angle, and they are just as convincing. They argue that in today's fast-paced environment, control comes from presence, from staying active, staying visible, and keeping the conversation moving. And that's exactly what Drake is doing. To them, Drake isn't waiting, he's leading. Every move he makes keeps him at the center of attention, while Kendrick's silence leaves a gap that Drake continues to fill. They see that as dominance in real time. Not potential dominance, not future impact, current control. And in a space where attention shifts quickly, that kind of control matters. This is where the clash becomes more than just about two artists. It becomes about two philosophies. One values patience, timing, and long-term impact. The other values momentum, consistency, and immediate influence. And because both approaches have proven to work, the debate becomes almost impossible to settle. Social media is amplifying this divide in ways that make it feel even bigger than it actually is. Algorithms push the most extreme takes, the most confident opinions, the most engaging arguments. That means fans are constantly seeing content that reinforces their side, making each perspective feel even more certain. As a result, the middle ground is shrinking. Fewer people are staying neutral. More people are choosing sides. And once that happens, the conversation becomes less about understanding and more about defending. You can see it in the way people are talking. It's no longer just "I think Kendrick is doing this" or "I think Drake is doing that." It's "Kendrick is clearly winning" or "Drake is obviously in control." The language has shifted from opinion to certainty, even though the situation itself is still unclear. That's what makes this moment so intense. It's built on uncertainty, but fueled by confidence. Meanwhile, both artists remain relatively unchanged in their approach. Kendrick continues to stay quiet, letting the anticipation build around him. Drake continues to stay active, ensuring the conversation never drifts too far away. And that consistency on both sides is what keeps the divide stable. Neither side is giving the other a clear advantage. At the same time, new layers keep getting added to the conversation. Fans are bringing up past moments, comparing this situation to previous interactions, looking for patterns that might explain what's happening now. Some are analyzing lyrics, others are studying timing, and some are even looking at external factors, industry moves, public appearances, anything that might provide context. But despite all that analysis, no clear answer emerges. And that's what keeps everything alive. Because as long as there's no resolution, there's room for interpretation. And as long as there's room for interpretation, there's room for debate. Another interesting development is how this divide is affecting the perception of the moment itself. Instead of one shared understanding, there are now multiple versions of the same situation. In one version, Kendrick is in control, building towards something bigger. In another, Drake is in control, dominating the present moment. And both versions exist at the same time, depending on who you ask. That duality makes it impossible for the moment to settle. It can't reach a conclusion because there's no agreement on what the conclusion should be. And that keeps everything in motion, even without new developments. As this continues, one thing becomes clear. The next move, whoever makes it, won't just shift the narrative slightly. It will redefine it, because right now, the story is open-ended, balanced, divided. But one strong move could tip everything in one direction. And that's why everyone is still watching. Not just for what's happening now, but for what might happen next. Because in a moment like this, it's not the current situation that decides everything. It's the move that breaks the tie. As the divide keeps intensifying, something even more interesting begins to happen. The conversation starts shifting away from just who's winning to how influence actually works. Because at this point, it's clear that both Kendrick Lamar and Drake are controlling different parts of the same moment. And that realization is forcing fans to rethink what dominance really looks like. On one side, you have Drake's immediate impact. He says something, or even hints at something, and within minutes, the entire internet reacts. Clips spread, debates start, and his name dominates the conversation. That's the kind of power that's visible, measurable, and constant. It's happening in real time, and you can see it everywhere. On the other side, you have Kendrick's delayed impact. He doesn't say anything, and somehow, that silence becomes just as powerful. People start waiting, speculating, building expectations around what he might do. And as that anticipation grows, so does his presence, without him actually needing to step in. This creates a situation where both artists are influencing the narrative at the same time, but in completely different ways. Drake controls the now. Kendrick controls the next. And fans are split because they value those two things differently. Some people care more about what's happening in the moment. They see Drake's activity as proof that is leading the situation. He's the one giving people something to react to, something to talk about, something to engage with. In their eyes, that's what matters most, being present and active when the conversation is happening. Others care more about what's coming. They see Kendrick's silence as something that's building toward a bigger payoff. To them, The moment isn't defined by what's happening right now. It's defined by what happens when Kendrick finally responds. And because they believe that response will be significant, they see him as being in control. That difference in perspective is what's keeping the divide alive. It's not just about two artists. It's about two different ways of measuring impact. Immediate vs delayed. Visible vs anticipated. And neither side is willing to admit that the other has value, because doing so would weaken their argument. Meanwhile, social media continues to act as fuel for this dynamic. The more people argue, the more content gets created. The more content gets created, the more the situation spreads. And the more it spreads, the more people join in, each bringing their own interpretation, their own perspective, their own bias. What's fascinating is how this moment has become almost self-sustaining. It doesn't need new developments to stay alive. The debate itself is enough. Fans are creating new angles, new theories, new ways of looking at the same situation. And as long as that keeps happening, the moment continues to grow. At the same time, there's an increasing awareness that this might all be part of a larger pattern. That this isn't the first time something like this has happened, and probably won't be the last. Fans are starting to recognize the cycle. A subtle move, a reaction, a divide, a build-up, and eventually a resolution, or at least something that feels like one. But what makes this situation different is how balanced it feels. Usually, moments like this tilt in one direction fairly quickly. One artist takes control, the narrative settles, and the conversation moves on. But hey, that hasn't happened. The balance remains. The divide holds. And that makes everything feel more unpredictable. There's also a growing sense that the stakes are higher this time. Not necessarily in terms of direct conflict, but in terms of perception. Because both artists have established such strong identities that any shift, no matter how small, feels significant. For Drake, maintaining control of the moment reinforces his reputation for dominance and consistency. For Kendrick, maintaining silence while still commanding attention reinforces his reputation for precision and impact. And both of those reputations are being tested in real time. That's why every small detail feels important. A post, a lyric, a delay. Everything is being interpreted as part of a larger strategy. Even things that might be unrelated are being pulled into the conversation, because fans are looking for meaning everywhere. And yet, despite all this analysis, the core situation remains unchanged. Drake has made a move. Kendrick has not responded. Fans are divided. The narrative is open. That's where the tension lives, in that space between action and reaction. Because until something changes, both sides can continue to claim control. Drake can point to his activity, his presence, his influence over the current conversation. Kendrick can point to the anticipation, the attention, the expectation surrounding his next move. And as long as both of those things exist at the same time, the divide will remain. But here's the key. Moments like this don't stay balanced forever. Eventually, something shifts. Eventually, someone moves. And when that happens, the entire narrative changes in an instant. As the standoff continues, the energy around this situation starts to change in a subtle but important way. It's no longer just about choosing sides. It's about waiting for a shift. Because right now, everything feels balanced, but not stable. And when something is balanced without being stable, it usually means one move can tip everything. At this point, both Drake and Kendrick Lamar are holding positions that are working for them, but neither position can stay exactly the same forever. Drake's constant presence keeps the conversation alive, but eventually, people start expecting more than just subtle hints. Kendrick's silence builds anticipation, but at some point, that anticipation demands a payoff. That's where the pressure starts to build. For Drake, the pressure isn't immediate, but it's growing. He's already sparked the conversation, already pulled attention toward himself, already created momentum. But momentum needs direction. If nothing follows, the energy he created could slowly fade or be redirected elsewhere. Fans who are currently defending his position might start asking for something more concrete. Something clearer. Something that confirms what they already believe. For Kendrick, the pressure is different. It's quieter, but just as real. His silence is powerful right now because it creates mystery. But mystery has a limit. If it stretches too long without resolution, it can start to feel less like strategy and more like absence. That's why timing is so critical for him. If he chooses to respond, it has to be at the right moment. Not too soon, not too late. And that's what makes this moment feel like it's on the edge of something. Fans can sense it. You can see it in the way conversations are evolving. At first, people were reacting. Then they were debating. Now, they're anticipating. They're waiting for that one move that will break the balance and give the situation a clear direction. Social media reflects this shift perfectly. Instead of just analyzing what already happened, people are predicting what will happen. Timelines are filled with theories about possible responses, possible releases, possible strategies. Everyone is trying to get ahead of the moment, to guess what the next move will be before it even happens. But the truth is, no one really knows. And that uncertainty is what keeps everything alive. Because as long as the next move is unknown, every possibility feels real. Drake could escalate. Kendrick could respond. Both could stay silent. Each option leads to a completely different outcome, and fans are mentally exploring all of them at the same time. This creates a kind of tension that feels almost like a countdown, but without a clock. There's no set time for when something will happen, but there's a shared feeling that something will. And that feeling is what keeps people locked in. At the same time, the divide between fans hasn't disappeared, it's evolved. Instead of just arguing about who's right, people are now arguing about what should happen next. Some believe Drake should go further, make it direct, remove all doubt. Others think Kendrick should stay silent, refusing to engage and maintaining his position. Then there are those who want the opposite, Kendrick to respond immediately and Drake to escalate further. Each group has its own idea of what would define a win, and those ideas don't align. That's why this moment feels so unpredictable. There's no single path forward that satisfies everyone. No matter what happens next, one side will feel validated while the other feels challenged. And that guarantees that the conversation will continue, even after the next move is made. Another important detail is how both artists are shaping expectations without directly addressing them. Drake, through his actions, is setting the tone for immediacy. Kendrick, through his silence, is setting the tone for patience. And fans are aligning themselves with whichever approach they connect with more. That alignment goes beyond just this moment. It reflects how people view the artists as a whole. Drake is someone who stays active, keeps things moving, dominates through consistency. Kendrick is someone who steps back, chooses his moments, and delivers impact through precision. And now, those two identities are clashing in real time. As the situation continues, one thing becomes increasingly clear. This isn't just about a single moment anymore. It's about momentum versus patience, presence versus anticipation, action versus restraint. And whichever side gains the upper hand in the next move will likely define how this entire situation is remembered. Because moments like this don't last forever in their current state. Eventually, something breaks the balance. Eventually, someone changes the pace. And when that happens, the divide doesn't disappear. It decides who was right all along. As the moment stretches further, it becomes clear that this isn't just a temporary divide. It's turning into something that could define how fans look at both Kendrick Lamar and Drake moving forward. Because the longer this balance holds, the more it starts to feel like a test. Not just of who will act next, but of whose approach actually works better under pressure. Right now, everything still feels suspended. Drake has already made his presence felt. His sparked conversation, controlled attention, and kept himself at the center of the moment. Kendrick, on the other hand, has done the opposite. He's stepped back, said nothing, and somehow still remains just as central to everything happening. And that's what makes this so unusual. Normally, attention follows action. But hey, attention is split between action and silence. Between what's been said and what hasn't. And that split is exactly why fans are still divided. Because at its core, this situation is forcing people to choose what they value more. Do they respect the artist who moves first, creates moments, and controls the present? or the artist who waits, builds tension, and controls the future? There's no clear answer, and that's why the debate hasn't settled. As time goes on, though, one thing becomes more obvious. This balance can't last forever. Moments like this eventually reach a turning point. Either Drake pushes things further, removing any doubt about his intentions, or Kendrick responds in a way that shifts everything instantly. Or, less likely, but still possible, both step back, leaving this moment unresolved but permanently remembered. Each outcome carries a different kind of impact. If Drake escalates, he takes full control of the narrative in the present. He turns speculation into confirmation, forcing Kendrick into a position where a response becomes almost unavoidable. That would energize his supporters and give them the clarity they've been waiting for. But it would also raise expectations even higher, because once things become direct, the stakes increase immediately. And if neither happens, then this moment becomes something different entirely. Not a resolved conflict, but a lingering tension, a moment that never fully concludes but continues to exist in the background, influencing how fans interpret future moves from both artists. At the same time, this moment highlights something deeper about both artists. Drake's strength lies in his ability to stay present, to keep things moving, to ensure that attention never drifts too far away from him. Kendrick's strength lies in his ability to create meaning through absence, to make people wait, to turn silence into something that feels intentional. And right now, those two strengths are colliding in a way that feels perfectly balanced, but also incredibly fragile. Because balance like this doesn't just break, it shifts. And when it shifts, it usually does so quickly. That anticipation is what's keeping everything alive. It's what turns a single situation into an ongoing story. And as long as that anticipation exists, the divide will remain. But eventually, something will happen. Right now, the moment is still wide open, and that's what makes it so intense. Kendrick Lamar hasn't said a word, while Drake keeps the spotlight moving, and fans are split right down the middle. So what do you think? Who's really in control right now? Is Kendrick playing the long game? Or is Drake already winning in real time? Drop your opinion in the comments, subscribe for more breakdowns, and stay locked in. Because the second one of them makes the next move, everything could change.